Welcome back to the Realistic TV Exposed. Are you ready for a brand new story that might shake the industry today? Because what we're diving into isn't just drama. It's one of those stories that makes you question what's really happening behind Hollywood's glossy smiles and carefully curated interviews. Today's tea is messy, unexpected, and it might change how you see one of hip hop's most talked about couples. So settle in because this one hits hard. All of y'all, for some reason, when you're around certain people, you start to feel like you've got this power. It looks like Nicki Minaj is being painted as the villain again. But this time, she allegedly aimed directly at Gucci Mane's wife, Keyshia, and she did not hold back. Nicki straight up accused Keyshia of keeping Gucci sedated. And the way she said it, it sounded like she cracked open a secret that Waka Flocka tried to warn everyone about years ago, back when that whole Brick Squad era already felt like a reality show storyline. Fans instantly exploded online, convinced that Gucci's mind might not be fully his own anymore, and that Keyshia is quietly running every move behind the scenes like some kind of puppet master in heels, the type of character you'd expect to see on a streaming docuseries about hip-hop power couples. Allegedly, there have even been whispers that while Gucci was locked up, Keyshia got a little too close to other rappers in the scene. That's the rumor some people say explains why he famously snapped on certain radio hosts back in the day. The internet ate that theory up immediately. But here's where things get even crazier. When you line up Nicki's cryptic tweets with Gucci's own confessions about his mental health struggles, plus the dark history around Brick Squad, suddenly a twisted picture starts to form. It's giving control, power, and maybe some manipulation mixed directly into a marriage. The internet has always labeled Gucci and Keyshia as couple goals, especially after that huge televised wedding that felt like a full Hollywood production. But people close to that chapter have hinted that not everything behind the scenes looked as perfect as the red carpet photos. One thing, though, keeps getting dragged back into the conversation. Gucci Mane and Keyshia appearance on The Breakfast Club while they were promoting his memoir. At first, it looked harmless. Jokes, smiles, perfectly polished power couple energy, everything you'd expect from a media-trained duo on a press run. But then Keyshia dropped a bomb when she explained how she manages Gucci's mental health. She said calmly and confidently, "I have a system." She broke it down. Whenever she senses Gucci is on the verge of having an episode, she goes into full control mode. According to her own words, the first thing she does is take his apps off his phone. Instagram, gone. Twitter, gone. She even admitted she'll change passwords if she has to. Why? Because she said she doesn't want the public to know he's having an episode. Keyshia bragged that you'd never know about any of Gucci's mental health episodes since a certain date, because she controls that. She described how she watches his behavior closely. If he goes quiet, doesn't eat, barely sleeps, or starts texting with a period after every word, she labels it an episode. And then she steps in. That's when the vibe in the room shifted. Keyshia looked Charlamagne straight in the eye and repeated, "I have a system. I delete Instagram, I delete Twitter, I control everything at home." That one quote set social media on absolute fire. People couldn't believe how openly she said it. It didn't sound like a partner quietly supporting from the sidelines. To a lot of viewers, it sounded like a manager talking about her artist or a handler talking about a client. What came next was pure chaos. Within hours, Nicki Minaj went nuclear on X and she wasn't holding a single thing back. She blasted Keyshia like never before, writing that Gucci's wife had been trying to be her for years, chasing the spotlight, chasing the look, and according to Nicki, keeping Gucci sedated. Fans went wild trying to decode every word because in this industry, a single tweet can shift an entire narrative. Nicki kept going, accusing Keyshia of blocking certain people from being around Gucci, like she was a gatekeeper standing between him and anyone who might wake him up. Suddenly, the internet was convinced this wasn't just petty talk anymore. It felt personal, sharp, and aimed straight at the heart of Gucci's home life. Then Nicki raised the stakes and took direct shots at Charlamagne, calling him a fraud and accusing him of pushing shady agendas through major radio platforms. She hinted he'd been involved in messy situations long before this feud ever started, and that she was done staying quiet about it. She ended the rant with full force, basically saying, "The buck stops here. Bookmark this, bring it, let's play." That line alone had everyone screaming because Nicki made it clear she wasn't backing down from anybody. not media, not labels, not industry veterans. And just when people thought she was finished, she turned the heat up again, calling out Lapped over a swatting incident and demanding that her label finally stand up for her instead of staying silent while media narratives spun out of control. At that point, it was obvious this wasn't a casual celebrity disagreement anymore. This was a full-on declaration of war in front of the entire entertainment world. Nicki wasn't just calling people out. She was swinging at the asterisk system, Gucci's marriage, industry politics, media figures, executives, even her own camp. She challenged everybody at once, the way only a superstar who's tired of playing nice can. The internet went insane. Fans were digging up old clips, posting screenshots, connecting dots, and arguing over whether Nicki finally said what everyone else had been too scared to admit. But the next morning, Keyshia wasn't staying quiet either. She popped up on Instagram looking unbothered, iced out, and petty fabulous, vibing hard to Cardi B's music right after Nicki's blow up. The camera angles, the glam, the mood, it all felt intentionally cinematic, like she knew exactly how this would play on gossip pages. Fans clocked it instantly and flooded her comments with laughing emojis and "oh, she's shading Nicki" messages. The timing was way too perfect. People were like, hold up, what is going on? Keyshia rocking out to Cardi immediately after Nicki's meltdown didn't just look like shade. It looked deliberate, a strategy, a signal, a quiet alliance in the middle of a rap Cold War that already divides the fan bases. Fans started saying Keyshia was lining herself up with Cardi's side of the industry just to spite Nicki, and instead of calming down, everything got darker. That's when Tasha K slid into the conversation and poured gasoline on the fire. She posted that word on the curb was Gucci had wanted to mess with Nicki once upon a time, but Nicki wasn't going. According to that rumor, when Nicki turned him down, Keyshia stepped in, cleaned him up, fixed his money, got him on meds, and rebuilt him into the version of Gucci we see now. The internet lost it. Some people said Tasha K was just being messy, as usual. Others swore she was confirming what Waka Flocka had been hinting at for years in those awkward old interviews and podcast clips. Comments went wild. People were stitching videos, pulling up footage where Waka looked uncomfortable whenever Keyshia's role came up, and trying to piece together whether this drama was connected to something deeper and older inside that camp. Fans even started replaying old moments where Gucci insisted, "No, I'm not, ain't nothing wrong with me," and putting them side by side with Keyshia's comments about catching his episodes before he realized it. Then came the real bombshell, the confession that made everybody freeze. In Gucci Mane's own memoir, he admitted something that sent chills through the internet. Keyshia had him committed once. Yes, you heard that right. Gucci said Keyshia and his 6 security guards basically took him straight to a mental facility. And while he framed it as a life-saving act, people couldn't ignore that he casually used the word kidnapped to describe the moment. When fans replayed the interview and heard him drop that word so casually, the energy shifted immediately. Once you add Keyshia's own comments about deleting his accounts, controlling his passwords, and managing his entire digital footprint, the whole situation stopped looking like simple support for a partner and started looking, to some viewers, like total control. And just when it felt like the rabbit hole couldn't go any deeper, old Waka Flocka clips started resurfacing. Back in the day, he hinted that Gucci wasn't the same after the Brick Squad split. Now fans are re-watching those moments with a whole new lens, like detectives re-examining a cold case after new evidence drops. Waka tweeted years ago that he never got paid for No Hands, that massive hit everybody still hears in clubs and festival sets. At the time, people brushed it off as bitterness or label politics. Now the story hits very differently. Back then, Waka said something subtle that most people ignored. Gucci ain't running Atlanta no more. He changed after that girl came around. Allegedly, that girl was Keyshia. Now, with Nicki's explosive posts resurfacing and the internet pulling every old clip out of the archives, fans are suddenly saying Waka might have been right the whole time. Some folks online even believe Keyshia slowly isolated Gucci from 2 women they feel kept him grounded, Deb Antony and Nicki Minaj. When you line up the puzzle pieces, the forced hospital stay, the deleted accounts, Keyshia's quote about controlling everything at home, it starts to feel, to many people watching, like a textbook case of power and control straight out of a Hollywood biopic. And that's why Nicki using the word sedated suddenly hits way harder. Especially because in that same Breakfast Club interview, Keyshia openly admitted she manages his medication and said she can catch his episodes before they happen. For a lot of people online, that didn't sound like simple care. It sounded like constant monitoring. Then the whispers got louder. Former reality stars and podcast personalities started talking behind the scenes, claiming Gucci's whole energy shifted after he got out, describing him as almost robotic, present but not fully all there, like a performer hitting his marks on stage but checked out behind the eyes. Old clips from other hip-hop commentators resurfaced too, with people hinting that something about Gucci's comeback never completely added up. And then came the rumor that sent fans spiraling, claims that Keyshia allegedly stepped out on Gucci with Yo Gotti while he was locked up. At first, it sounded wild, but fans started linking it to Gucci's past friction with certain radio personalities, wondering if the drama had deeper roots than people realized. So now the internet is asking, could Keishia's whole "I control everything" mindset be her way of making sure she keeps the upper hand, especially if any of those old allegations had even a kernel of truth? But hold up, it gets even messier. Rick Ross's ex at the time, Brooke, jumped into the mix and dropped a claim that made everyone gasp. She swore she saw Keyshia leaving with Rick Ross in a Rolls-Royce while Gucci was still behind bars. Brooke doubled down and said, "I saw it with my own eyes. She had the blue lipstick, the mohawk, all of it. And while Gucci was in jail, she came to the house and left with Ross." That one statement set the internet on fire. Blogs, fan pages, gossip channels, everybody was talking like it was breaking news. Even though Keyshia clapped back quickly, saying she never had any dealings with Ross and telling people to keep her name out of their mix-ups, the damage was already done. Once the story hits the algorithm, people remember the rumor, not the denial. From there, some fans started claiming Keyshia always had a certain kind of influence over the men in her orbit, whether that's fair or not. In a town like Atlanta, where the rap scene is basically its own version of Hollywood, that kind of reputation sticks fast. But Nicki wasn't done with Keyshia, not even close. She came straight for Charlamagne next. Nicki dragged him hard, calling him out as someone tied to bigger industry players and using his platform to push certain agendas and narratives. And if you've been following Nicki lately, you already know she's been on a mission exposing everybody from Cardi to major moguls, accusing them of being part of a system that silences artists and protects certain people behind the scenes. So when Nicki hinted that Charlamagne was around during Wendy Williams's decline and alluded to the timing of her calling out powerful names, fans connected the dots immediately. They remembered how Wendy's troubles seemed to intensify right after she started freely calling out major figures in Hollywood and the music business. Suddenly, Nicki's tweet didn't sound so random anymore. People online began asking if Nicki was suggesting that the same kind of behind-the-scenes pressure Wendy allegedly dealt with might also be moving around Gucci's situation, not just with Keyshia, but with the media machine that chooses who gets protected and who gets sacrificed. Nicki's point wasn't just that Keyshia was a jealous wife. She was hinting that Keyshia might be playing a deeper role, more like a handler, keeping one of Atlanta's loudest voices contained and controllable. Social media went wild with that theory. One fan even tweeted, "I can't unsee Keyshia trying to look like Nicki, all while knowing Gucci once wanted Nicki and couldn't have her." The drama officially left petty and entered cinematic. Some fans were convinced they knew exactly what was going on. One even wrote, "That's real tea right there," before adding that Keyshia was definitely doing witchcraft on Gucci, bonding spells, and all types of ish. He's completely under her control spiritually too. He might literally die if he leaves her, but I'ma shut up now. The comment section went into straight chaos after that. People arguing, laughing, debunking, and dragging each other nonstop like it was a reunion episode. But on the flip side, plenty of people were still riding hard for Keyshia, defending her like blood. One supporter wrote, "If you know Keyshia, you know she does not play about Gucci. Never has, never will. This woman bathed that man when he was down bad. You think she'd ever let him go back to that mental space? Never." For them, it wasn't about control. It was about loyalty and standing by him when the entire industry had written him off. So now the internet is split right down the middle. Team Nicki versus Team Keyshia. A full-blown culture war playing out in real time on social media feeds that already thrive on conflict. Everyone's arguing over who's really telling the truth, while Gucci himself stays quiet and out the way, doing shows, dropping music, and letting the world argue over his personal life like it's a scripted series. But fans recently pointed out another eerie layer. When Keyshia launched her Cower Cosmetics line, those promo photos started looking a little too familiar to some people. They pulled side-by-side comparisons with Nicki's Pink Friday era, and the resemblance had the internet talking same latex-style outfits, same bubblegum pink vibe, same over-the-top glam. Now people are saying Keyshia wasn't just inspired by Nicki. She was mirroring her whole image, move for move, at least that's how the internet is framing it. Some even claim her connection to Nicki runs deeper than simple shade or competition, like she's been quietly following Nicki's blueprint, the glamorous woman who dominates in public but operates like a boss behind the scenes. The difference, Nicki is making it incredibly clear she's not letting anyone borrow her identity without a fight. Nicki doesn't see any of this as empowerment, she sees it as manipulation, plain and simple. When she said, "The buck stops here," it didn't sound like just anger. It sounded like a warning, like she's ready to expose everything if she has to. And knowing Nicki, if she's sitting on screenshots, old DMs, studio conversations, or behind-the-scenes stories from those Brick Squad days, this could reopen some of the messiest wounds Atlanta's hip-hop scene has ever seen, the kind of plot twist that Hollywood producers would kill to put in a limited series. Let's not forget, Gucci once publicly apologized to Nicki, Drake, and Rick Ross for dissing them during what he called his episode. But now, with Keyshia admitting she controls his online access, fans can't help wondering how much of Gucci's public narrative actually belongs to him and how much is filtered through the people around him. On one side, Nicki's still being painted as the villain, dropping subliminal tweets, firing off sharp posts, and calling out names. On the other side, Keyshia is flaunting her marriage, posting luxury photos, smiling for the cameras, and keeping Gucci close like the prize she believes he is. Meanwhile, Gucci's memoir is climbing charts again and getting new attention on streaming platforms, fueled all over again by the same chaos swirling around his name. But one thing is for sure, this feud isn't just about jealousy or clout. It's about power. It's about control. It's about image. And it's about the question everyone's afraid to ask out loud. Who is really running who? And if Nicki ever decides to drop the receipts she keeps hinting about, if there are texts, old videos, or industry stories she's been holding back, this could blow the lid off how some of hip-hop's biggest power couples really move behind the scenes, in a way that would shake both Atlanta and Hollywood. So now I've got to ask, is Keyshia really controlling Gucci, or is Nicki stirring up old flames for attention in an industry that rewards controversy? Do you think there's truth behind Nicki's warnings, or is this just another high-stakes Hollywood clash playing out in real time? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This story is only getting wilder from here.